Hey everybody, this is Michelle with Stampin' Butterfly. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I have another installation of Sale-a-bration Showcase where I get together with you on Sunday night and share some projects with one of our products that you can earn for free during Sale-a-bration. Sale-a-bration ends at the end of February, so we're already halfway through January. I'm not sure where the time is going. But tonight we will be taking a look at the Friendly Hello stamp set and coordinating paper. So we'll do two projects together, and then at the end I'll share a bunch more samples and other ideas and tips and tricks and different ways you can use the paper. So let's head down to the desk view. All right, so let's take a look in the catalog real quick because there's always lots of inspiration in here. And if you are here, drop me a hello. I'd love to know where you're from and what your weather's looking like. Florida's a little chilly today, but that's okay as long as it's not snowing, so I'm good with that. So right now we are, like I said, in the middle of Sale-a-bration, and every time you spend $50 or $100, you can earn different products. So today's product, like I said, is Friendly Hello, so it has the stamp set and coordinating paper. Stampin' Up is always great about sharing different projects that you can do with your products. So I always save my catalogs for inspiration. And then you can use these, to create your own cards. The way you earn these is purchasing anything on my online store. So it could be clearance rack, it could be from the annual catalog, our new spring mini catalog, which is this guy over here. You can get that online, or it can be from our annual catalog. So lots of different options, and you can also earn free products purchasing a prepaid Paper Pumpkin subscription, and I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. But anyway, so these are the products we'll be looking at. Let's move that out of the way. Take a little closer look at the paper. So these are the different papers that they come in a 12 by 12 pack, which I have right here. And you can see I've been playing with it, so it's a little chopped up. So it's always nice to do this little paper sampler, so you can kind of get a look at everything in there. And this is the front and this is the back. So these are the different pieces of paper that you receive in your pack. And the colors included are basic black, fresh freesia, granny apple green, petal pink, pool party, and shaded spruce. So you can also stamp on some of the paper, and I will share that with you a little bit later. I'll show you some samples how to stamp on it. So the stamps in here, so like this stamp you can stamp on here. You can do some of those twiggy things on some of your papers. And then you can add some of these other images to the solid paper as well. So I'll share those with you in a little bit. I have my host code at the top, so I'm a US demonstrator if you're shopping in the US. My website and the current host code is at the top, so feel free to use that if you like any of the products that I display today and you are interested in purchasing any of them. So let's take a look at our first card. Let's get some Stampin' paper out. So I did some pre-cutting tonight. I won't do much die cutting for you because we're going to do some heat embossing. So that one takes a little bit of time, and I wanted to kind of share that with you. So this is card number 1 we'll be making. And let me grab card number 2. Card number 2. So this one, I think you can tell, we heat emboss it in white, and then you can actually color it with your Stampin' blends. So it's kind of a fun fold. So that's the second card we'll be making, and I'll show you how to do that. So this first card is a quick and easy card, and it's always nice to be able to whip out a bunch of cards all at once. So I thought this would be a fun one to share with you guys. We're going to change up the colors a little bit and the dimensions slightly because you know me, sometimes it's more fun to do that. So let's see. Now we have a little bit of sticky something on there. Grab some pieces of paper. Like I said, I did a little bit of pre-cutting for us tonight, and just to save time so we can heat emboss, and then I can answer any questions you have. So please let me know if you have questions along the way. I will try to keep an eye on the comments so I can answer them as we go. All right, so for our first card, I decided we'd change it up a little bit and use the fresh freesia. So this is our card base. I have it cut in the same direction. So if you were new to card making, pretend this was all the same color. Your 8.5 by 11 piece of paper would look like this. You would cut it down the center. You now have 2 card bases, and then you could score it at 5.5. And then you would have your 2 card bases. So I thought it'd be fun to change it up a little. And if you look on here, I did almost like an 1/8 of an inch border. And usually I do 1/4 of an inch. So this one we're going to do 1/4 of an inch and see how it looks and compare it a little bit. Hi, Bob. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for letting me know. All right. Make sure if you've got questions, you can pop them in the comments along the way. All right. So that's our envelope. I'll show you. We're going to do a little stamping on that too, potentially. And then I did a little inside panel if we wanted to stamp on that. So as you can see, our grid paper has measurements, so that's really nice. So I can kind of tell you. So the black piece, this time I cut at 4 3/4, and the white piece is at 4.5. So you'll see I did a 1/4 inch border. So if we look at that, you'll see it's a little bit bigger than the border on here. And the white piece is exactly the same size. I didn't change that. So we'll go ahead and adhere those together. So we'll put since we're not stamping on the white, we can go ahead and glue it down. Usually when we're stamping first, I always say stamp first, glue second, in case you don't like it, you have another side. So see if that looks even. Got a little wiggle with the glue. All right. I think that looks pretty good. Might be a smidge more on the bottom, but it's close enough. Let's make sure my card base is opening the right direction. That's always a good sign. And then, where did I put my paper's still in here. Here's my designer paper. So I have some other options for an envelope we could talk about. All right, so I was thinking, since this one I did the 2 petal pink with the pool party in the middle, I thought maybe we'd do fresh freesia on the ends and then the peach in the middle. The petal pink. So we are going to use our postage punch stamp. Or punch, I mean, and we're just going to punch out the paper. So we don't even have to do that much stamping right now. So we're just going to punch out this paper. And that one's going to go here. So now we can do it this format right here. Or I was thinking we could, if we wanted to stick with all the purple, we could do that in the center. Or we could even stamp onto there. So let's do that real quick and see what that looks like. I have some of the stamps already on blocks from this stamp set. And, oh, I did bring it over. Okay, good. So we are just going to ink it up. Now the black ink pads are hard felt, so you can give them a wiggle and a press down pretty good. The colored ink pads are squishy, so I would not recommend that. All right. Because if you do that on the other ones, you're going to get ink everywhere. So we could do that as our card as well. Can't decide which one I like better. All right, what do you think? While we're thinking about that, let's go ahead and put our hello friend at the bottom. So again, this is a little bit bigger. I don't think I brought my foam mat over, so hopefully it stamps well. Sometimes when you have your photopolymer stamp and it has like a wide area like the hello is, it's better to put a foam pad underneath you. So fingers crossed this works and it comes out solid. And since you're stamping on a colored cardstock, I would give it a little bit more time and some good pressure on here because it's a bigger stamp. Now if it was a smaller sentiment, it might squish a little, but this one should be fine. Whew, okay, that looks good. All right, so simple. I love the pop of black on these cards. Sometimes it just dresses it up so much. Okay, so let's close that up. Now we can decide, do we want to do that one, do that by itself, or just do the solid purple? I think we're going to go with the image. I like that. Let's get some dimensionals. You know I like my dimensionals. Oh, those are minis. I'm going to use the bigger ones on this. All right, so we will just flip these guys over, add a few dimensionals on the back, and then we can assemble our card. So like I said, this is a quick and easy card, kind of fun. When you're doing this, you want to make sure you kind of have these laid out a little bit. so that you can see about even on the spacing. So let's go ahead and do this one. We just have to peel our backings off. And of course I'm going to stick my head in the camera probably. I feel like that's a little low. And then it's a little, I want a little bit more border on that white side on the right. So we're going to go ahead. Hi Hannah, I'm glad you're here. I think some people say you should do the outsides and then the inside, but I did not do that. So let's see how it comes out. We're just doing from one side to the next. And let's see, I'm going to move it off of there because that diagonal is kind of messing up my eyeballs. All right. I think that looks pretty evenly spaced. This one might be slightly crooked again. I don't know why he's doing that. Okay. Push our dimensionals down. And there we go. Might be a slight diagonal. No, I think they're pretty even. I think we're good. All right. So now we're just going to add a little bit of glue. And a little goes a long way. So you can see I have a very fine line. I didn't squeeze it out really thick because then it oozes out the edges. And you want to kind of prevent that. And then we're just going to center it on the top. So there you go. You have a super quick and easy card. And I think my black ink hadn't dried yet because I have some nice little fingerprint smudges over there. So I think that's where we're going to put our gems. So we'll cover up that little marking. Let's get that out of the way. So let's get some gems on this guy. All right, iridescent rhinestones. Love these guys. They pick up the color of anything you're using. So lots of fun. And here's the original card. Let's use these crazy big ones. I'm gonna, there's a big smudge right there. Let's see. Ooh, that covers it good. Take a medium-sized one to cover this one. And then we can do a smaller one on this side. And if you have your pokey tool or you take your pick tool, you can use those too. All right. So I might have spaced them more like this, but this works better because it covers up the smudges I don't like. So gems always work really well for that. All right, we're going to keep these out because we might use these again. I'm going to stick that up there. All right, so now you can see the difference in the two cards. Well, we did change up the colors, but it's just different pieces of paper. We went ahead and stamped on this one with our stamp to give it some more pop of color so it kind of matches everything. But this one I did the 1/4 inch border. They both have the same white piece of paper, the same, you know, shape of the punch, which is our postage punch. And then this one's more of like 1/8 of an inch. So you can see the difference in the two. So now we don't want any naked envelopes. So we can go ahead and take our envelope. We're going to go ahead and stamp the back of it with the double flower. And I dropped these on the carpet a little while ago, so I hope there's no carpet fuzz stuck to them. Try to clean it off a little bit. And which one? That's kind of big. I think I want to use the smaller leaf. So when you have a lot of different stamps, you can see I have things, I'm just kind of storing them on here and I'm using one side. So you can use both sides of your block by putting them on catty corner sections. And then you can get more use out of that. All right, so let's decorate that up a little bit. And again, because it's our felt pad, we can wiggle to make sure we get good ink and push down. And that's okay with these. And then we're just going to center this fun flower on the back. And I wouldn't recommend coloring this with your alcohol markers because it does bleed through, so it would kind of be not as pretty on the back side of that. But if you don't mind that, you could do watercolor pencils. That wouldn't bleed through on you. And then let's see, we're going to do, oh, this guy's in my way. Stick that there. So yeah, I think we're going to use this little leaf. So we're going to ink him up. And that's a pretty solid one, so you kind of want to make sure you have good ink on that. And I'm just going to kind of wedge it right in between the flowers. And you don't even have to do any masking with this, really. You could just, that kind of looks thick. Let's see. Oh yeah, that really got wet. Let me clean it real quick. It's all inside the crack. Must have had extra juicy part of my ink pad. All right, let's see how that goes. Now I have a black finger, which I'll probably smudge onto something else. All right, I think that looks good. We could even add a second leaf if we want to get wild. Let's see. Just kind of line them up. Ooh, that's pretty wet. Try not to touch it. And again, we can add one on this guy, on this side. And there you go. Look how pretty that is. You could have even done the leaves in a different color if you wanted to do them green. Since I was going with, like, you know, the black and pink, I just kind of kept it the same color. But you could do it in green. You can do it. You could have done them all in the fresh freesia color if you wanted. All right. The other option you have. So now you have this beautiful envelope that matches. So this one looks really nice with that. And then we also have some of these fun envelopes. So they come in the in colors, and since we're using fresh freesia on this one, we could actually, instead of using an envelope, we could put our card in here. We could decorate it, we could stamp the front, tie a bow on here. Now obviously you can't mail it, but if you are handing someone a card, this is a fun, different option. You could fold over the edge and, you know, put some stickies, or you could do a little pop-up dimensional and kind of fold it underneath. So just another option that you could do. And we could stamp on the front of this, similar to the, let's see, we could do that actually. Let's try that and see how it looks. So we can stamp on the front of the envelope and decorate that, and then use that as our envelope to go with it. All right, so we're just going to keep it the same decoration. We're going to do the 2 flowers and some leaves. And then you could even add a sentiment. You could pop it up on a dimensional. And where did I put the leaf? Let's take it back over here. Here we go. So maybe this time we'll only do the 1 leaf on each side. And then put it back in there. And there you go. So now it kind of matches your paper even. And I'll show you some tips with this paper at the end when we're going through the sample cards. The stamps and the paper actually coordinate, so you can stamp on top of it. All right, make sure it dries, and then you can slide your pretty envelope, your card in your envelope, and then you're good to go. So we'll just leave that out for now. And if you wanted, so for your inside panel, I had cut this just as a sample. But you could put that in there. It's a light colored card, so you could technically write on that. Some people like to put an inside layer. And if you did, again, you could do your flower in the corner, kind of offset coming off the paper, so you could stamp it on here and then insert it inside of your card. So lots of options, or you could do this little green. You could do this leaf, actually. That might be nice. It ties in the front. And you could have done this on the envelope as well. All right, so let's regroup for heat embossing. For the next card, move some stuff out of the way, and don't think I need those. All right, so let's take a closer look at our card. This one has a lot more supplies I need to pull out. All right, so there's our card, and it has the fun fold, and if you look, the heat embossed, we did it in white, but you can color it with your blends markers and give them different colors and trim them out. And the sentiment from this one is actually from another stamp set that you can earn for free during Sale-a-bration called Special Moments. And I've been using these quite a bit. There's lots of fun sentiments in here. The one we're using is just a little high from me, and I think I swapped it out for the sample we're doing. We might be doing Hello Sunshine or something. I forget which one I picked. But this one has tons of sentiments. So lots of different options for your cards and different fonts. So I like that it mixes up the fonts. So we have some matte dots on here. I just used the white. And then to do some of our pieces, and like I said, I've done all the die cutting already and the cutting of the pieces just to save time so we can focus on the heat embossing. But like this stitched rectangle in the back is from our Stitch So Sweetly. So we have a regular stitched rectangle die set, but this one has the scallops on it. So I just picked that, and then I cut the black paper just enough to fit in the stitching. And then the circles, of course, are from my favorite Tasteful Label dies. I use these guys all the time. So we layered these two, but it left too big of a gap, and I'll show you in a second. So I cut just this extra circle in the black cardstock. All right. Let's see, we're gonna need some blend markers. So we are coloring with the alcohol markers, not the Stampin' Right, and I'll show you at the end when I'm going through the samples what that looks like. I've got some pieces to show you the difference, and then you can see why I'm using what I am. So let's see, sentiment. Yes, I picked Hello Sunshine. We're gonna need our black ink pad back. Oh, here it is. I left it out. Perfect. So since there's only a tiny bit of regular ink, we'll do that piece first. And so what I did was, this is the two that come from the Tasteful label. So it leaves a really big border. And I felt like that was a little bit bigger than I wanted. So I just used the layering circles and found one that fit inside of there. Then we can stamp on this. And it kind of picks up the black a little bit too. So let's go ahead and do that. Stamp our sentiment real quick. All right. And that's cute because that could be a hello, thinking of you, birthday. You can write whatever you want in those. So that makes it fun. Let's see. We can glue some of the card together. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll do the heat embossing. So I went ahead and, oh, I didn't bring, oh, here it is. I was like, I thought I had the bone folder over here. So I will show you this is kind of a fun fold, but it's an easy fun fold. So the card we just made, remember the 4 1/4 by 11. This is that same card, and all you do is score it halfway down, which is 2.75, and then you fold it back. So now all of a sudden you have a fun fold. And where is our piece of white? Steal it out of that one. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and glue our designer paper. And all the paper coordinates in here really pretty, so you can, mix and match the card-based colors and any of the designer paper, whichever ones are the ones you like the best. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and just glue these together while we have it out. And luckily it's a circle, so there's no right or wrong direction until you do the final glue. All right, so that is done. We can set that one aside, and we're going to pop that with a dimensional later. Okay. Ooh, a little bit more in the corner. All right, so we are going to set that inside the card. There we are. All right, so our card is assembled pretty quick and easy. We are going to heat emboss this, so we won't do any more assembly just yet. So we're going to need our image, our piece of white, and then all my little embossing tools. So we don't sell the embossing buddy anymore, and if you don't have oily fingers, you might be okay, but I think they do sell them in the regular craft store. So I like to go over it. It leaves a little powder, but you can wipe that off later. It just keeps the image from sticking to places your fingers were, especially like if you're using a lot of hand lotion during the winter and stuff. I keep a handy dandy paintbrush for the pieces that stick where I don't want them, so like even that, I could use that to brush it off. And then for the heat embossing, you use your Versamark ink pad, which is different. You could even heat emboss with your ink pad if it were juicy enough and you were fast enough. But if you don't want to think about it, you can just use it this way. So you are just going to stamp straight down like you usually do, like you're doing any other image. And you can't see anything, I know. But there's really something there, and it's a little tacky, like sticky. Ooh. So I don't know if you can tell. You probably can't see it. It has a little bit of shine. And then I have these coffee filters. This one's seen better days. I probably should have swapped it out. But I do that so the powder doesn't stick everywhere, because that plastic plate underneath, it kind of sticks to it. So you just want to pour the embossing powder over your image. And if it looks like, that looks like a pretty good coating, there's a few little stray pieces over here. And if you don't knock them off, they will leave little white dots, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. And then you can also flick it on the back. All right, so that looks like we have pretty good coverage. I'm going to set that here. Now this is an important step, because sometimes if you get in a hurry and you're like, I'll just do it later, not so good. One, the heat embossing tool will probably blow the powder everywhere. So it's better to just pour it back in your container while you have it there. And make sure you actually put the top on. So don't just set it there like, oh, that's good, it won't blow away. Because I don't know how many times I've picked it up and knocked it over and spilled it everywhere. So better off to just close it, even if you're going to do multiples, if you're not on that step right away. Okay, so now I use this little clothespin to help protect my fingers from the heat gun, because it is scorching hot. You can't use a hairdryer, by the way. It does not work. It just doesn't get hot enough. So let's bring in our heat tool, and this is my fancy kitchen mat, so it's rubber. And then this is the heat tool, so I'm going to go ahead and heat it up for a minute and get it started. And hopefully I don't have anything that's going to blow off on my desk, but we'll see. So you'll see it's kind of light colored, and it'll change to like a shiny once it heat embosses it. All right, so you kind of want to get it started. Still heating up. All right, let's see. There you go. I don't know if you can tell in the camera. It's starting to go shiny in spots. And now you want to be careful, because you can burn it and your paper. So you want to try not to burn everything if you do it too long in an area. All right, hopefully that wasn't too crazy loud for you guys. All right, so there we go. We want to let it cool off, because the paper is very warm. And if you had white paper and you did it too long, you might even get a brown spot, and then you'd know you did it too long. So, all right, it does warp it a teeny bit. Looks like it's just about cool. All right, so now the white is really pretty all by itself. Where's the card? And you can see the difference. So the coloring is just subtle, so it's pretty, and it's a little bit darker than it looks on the camera, but it's a lot of fun. And I picked light colors. You could do brighter, like you could probably do magenta, madness, or some hot pink and some brighter colors, and it would definitely show up more. But I just wanted to pick the same colors that were in my paper, so that's kind of why I selected these. All right, so let's go ahead and do and I did find out, like I tested with the light colors. The lights really don't work as well. So I'm going to use all the dark markers. Like sometimes when you're coloring, it's better to color with the light, but on this one, the dark is the way to go. And what's nice about the black paper is that it does not show when you go off the lines. So if you go off the line onto the black paper, you're okay. If you did this on white paper, you would see where you went off the line. And I tested it on there, so I'll show you my sample image that I played with, and it doesn't look that good. I tried to mess around with it, test it out. So I'll show you that once we finish up this card, just so you can compare. And it does dry, like this is darker than my last one, and it does dry a little lighter, so you could come back on and do a couple of coats to make it darker if you like this dark look. All right. And when you're using your markers, you always want to make sure you close them when you're done, because they do dry out. So if you leave them just laying on your desk open, they will dry out on you. And you don't want to do that. So, oh good, I'm in the camera. I just double checked. I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm just coloring nowhere. Let me know if you have any questions on heat embossing. It's a lot of fun. There's so many different things you can do with it. And even just heat embossing, you know, gold on black or silver just looks so pretty. And again, I'm just going over the lines. Nothing fancy. And if you go off the paper, you'll see like there might be a tiny, tiny light colored on the black. Like you can barely even tell. So No big deal. But this is fun. I don't know if it has an actual name. I mean, I just called it Coloring on Heat Embossed, but I don't know if it has like some fancy name to it, this technique or not. And again, I like it darker, so I'm going to go over this one more time. Try to make it darker. And then the Pool Party is a very light color, so maybe we should have picked like a Misty Moonlight or something, but it would clash with my paper. So we'll stick with the Pool Party. All right, let's move on to the bird. And we'll color him. And this one is really, really light. I wonder what it would look like if I did that Misty Moonlight. That one's really dark though. So we'll just give it a second and then go back over it. Because if you do it while it's wet, it just smears it. You want to give it a chance to dry off a little. All right, we can pull our card pieces back in. We'll give that a second to dry and we'll go back over it. But let me show you what it looks like on white. So on this piece, I heat embossed on the white with white, and then I tried to color it with the Stampin' Right marker. So I tried to use this one. It doesn't work good. It falls right off the embossing and it left weird. I had to try to trace the outside of the flowers. And then just using it on here, it did stick to it, but you could see like where I went outside the lines. And then I tried to make it look like I was tracing it on purpose. But don't love the way it looks. So it's definitely more forgiving to use it on the black. It's more fun. But I mean, you could do it on here. I would just go with maybe a different color or figure out how to make the bird maybe a Sharpie to give his eye and a beak a little more color so you can see it. All right, let's put a little more Pool Party on here. Come on, dark Pool Party. And then we can assemble our cards. Look at all the goodies. I made a bunch of cards with this paper. It's really pretty. And then we talk about some other fun products that I used. All right, that looks good. Now we can assemble our card. And again, it's a little bit, you know, the heat warps it a little. So you want to make sure you get some good amount of glue on there. So that it sticks down for you. And you could pop it up, you know, you could use dimensionals in lots of different places, but if you make it too lumpy, then you just have to pay more postage. So there we are. Get the little powder off for my embossing tool. That looks good. Okay, so now we can finish assembling. What you want to do is estimate about where you don't want to put glue on the whole back because then you're going to seal your card. So you only want glue up here. So the easiest way to do that is estimate where you want it and flip it over so you can have the equal spacing that you want here. And then you can add your glue. So you don't go too far down and you don't have to guess. All right. Oops. And then what I do is I fold it over real quick and make sure I didn't flip it in a different further down. So make sure it's straight. And again, liquid glue gives you that wiggle room, so that's nice. And then we're going to use some dimensionals for this one down here. And it's hard to guess where to put it on here, so I'm going to put the dimensional on this piece. And then that way you know you have it in the right place. So you put your dimensional there. Pull off your backing, and then you can add your sentiment. So there you go. There's your two cards. I like it darker. It definitely stuck better on there. Maybe I'll add a little more to this original card. Needs another coat. So I'm just going to touch this one up while we're here. Oh, I need to put my little dots on the other card too, now that I see that. All right. I could put this, oh, that's a good idea, the silicone mat. So yeah, you could stick the silicone mat over here, so if you guessed wrong, you could always let this part dry and use that rubber eraser to clean it off. Great idea, Hannah. Thank you. All right, so there is the card. Let's put some dots on here. So I like these are just kind of neutral colors. And you could, again, if we wanted them to pop, you know, maybe we want to make them freesia. Let's do that, dark freesia. We can kind of color them. We don't want them to be white. Change our mind. And you can do this with any of our gems. You can, it doesn't work with the Stampin' Right markers, but it will work with these alcohol blends, the blend markers. And again, I'll let it dry a second because I'm just smearing it off, and I can put another coat. And we can add them on there. What's nice with the clear backing, you could peel them off of your, sometimes they have a little sticky tape in here holding them down. But we're going to pull them off, and you can kind of hover them over where you want to put it in case you don't like it. You know, you can test it. See, I was like, oh, the black, it kind of gets lost in there. So I did the white on that one. But I think the purple kind of pops fun, and you can make a gem any color you want. So if there isn't one the color that you need, you can change it up. So where's our pokey tool? Here's our take your pick tool. Let's see, we'll put the big one near the bottom. Doesn't want to cooperate. Let's see, we'll stick that one down here. Oh, I like the purple. That's kind of fun. All right, well, stick to my finger. That's one way to put it down. And then the other one, do we want to put it here or here? Oh, it fell. Okay, that's what we're going with. Sounds good. Let's put our top on here before we use it. And then there you go. So these matte dots are a lot of fun too. And you can change them to be any color you want. So what do you think? Pretty cool. All right. So that is heat embossing, and we have different colors. They come in a multi-pack, so when you order them, I'll show you on the page. They have different options. So like I think the silvers are in one pack, and then the other ones are in another. So let me move some stuff out of the way so I can show you where the different items are in the catalog, and then I will share some samples. So let's see. Ooh, that was my fingernail. That sounded weird. Okay. So the postage stamp punch we used is on page 149, and that is just a great option for making quick cards. It also works for a lot of sentiments. So at the end, I'll show you some suggested ideas I have if you want to earn that for free, the paper and the stamp set. I have some suggested ideas of how to get to $100. One's like for newer stampers without the die cut machine, and then some paper pumpkin. But we didn't use this stamp set. I used the free one. But if you wanted a stamp set that covers a lot of holidays with fun fonts, this one's $24, and it's a great option. And what's kind of cool, let me see. So when you have our paper catalog, the images are generally the exact size they will be on your stamp, unless they noted otherwise. So if you wanted to see, well, what would that fit in? If you had this punch, the postage punch, you could see, okay, you could punch out a piece of white with the postage punch, and it would, you could use any of those sentiments. So it's kind of a fun way to see, you know, what would fit. So you could always do that in your catalog. Right, so that's the postage punch. Some of the dies we used are the layering circles, and that one's a sample I have for you. Stitch So Sweetly is up here, so you can see what that one looks like, and then the Tasteful Labels. I use this is like one of my go-tos. It has lots of different sizes, so it works great for making labels for your cards. All right, heat embossing, and then the markers. Somewhere in here. Here we are. All right, so we have a whole section of Step It Up in Style, and this is kind of fun. It's on page 128 and 129. So you'll find your Versamark ink here, and then your heat tool is on this page. And then so what they have for the white that we use comes in a multi-pack. So you get black, clear, and white embossing powder, and then there's a metallic that has copper, gold, and silver. So we sell them in, I'm assuming they're a little bit smaller because the containers I have are see, does it say 1/2 ounce each? What size is mine? Mine are the ones from last year. No, it's 1/2 ounce. Okay, so you get the same size container, but it just comes in a 3-pack instead. We used to sell them individually, so now you just get the basics or the metallics. And then you're good to go. I mean, it'll last you for a really long time, and you can do lots of heat embossing. And then what was it over here? Oh, if you wanted to find the alcohol markers, they're a little bit hidden. They used to have their own place in the catalog, but now you'll find them in our ink section. So the way this works is that we have family colors. Now when I stock mine, I put them by all the reds together, all the pink. But we have family colors that are bright, neutral, regal, subtles, which are kind of like springy colors. The regals are a lot more that you use for, say, like the fall and Christmas. And then our basic colors, and then our in-color families. So the 2022s are going to retire this year in 2022. So at the end of this catalog, these colors will be gone for good. So if any of those are your faves, make sure you pick them up. But what they do is for each color, they'll tell you, here's the cardstock, here's the ink pad, the refill, and then the blends. So if you're looking for those alcohol markers, they're kind of hidden down here. And they don't have one for every single color. So the ones we used today were the Granny Apple Green. We used the Freesia. And then Pool Party is one of my favorites. It's like a must-have because you can do so much with it for highlighting backgrounds and things. So that's where that one's found. And then online, if you just type in the names, they should pop up pretty easy, or you can type in the item number under the little search thing, and it'll get you there. One other thing in the catalog I wanted to point out, because people don't always know it. So if you wanted to, say, buy all the ink pads in this color family, they're $7.50 each. But if you buy them in a bundle by family color, on page 126, they give you a discount. So I think it's like 10%. So you can get 10 pads for $67.50. So you can buy it by family color, bright, neutrals, regals, and subtles. So it's on another page. They used to organize catalog a little different, so it makes it a little hard sometimes. Excuse me. And then those skinny Stampin' Right markers are actually sold by family, and they are here on this page as well. And then there's some watercolor pencils and pastels and different things like that. So those are what we use. Let's take a look at some other ideas with this paper. So you could make your own designer paper. Let's see, where's my pack of paper? So this one I was playing around, and let's pull out the original. So here's the original paper that comes in the suite, or in this pack of paper, and they used all those subtles that I talked about. And then I decided, well, what if I want to make it more vibrant, make my own paper? So I cut this to, I believe, 5 inches, and then I just randomly stamped. So I used some of the same images from our stamp set, and then I picked whatever colors I liked. So I mixed them up. And then what we can do is we can just make a card out of that. So let me get my paper trimmer. And let's see. Let's just do that real quick. I'll show you. So let's see. My original paper, what did I cut it? I cut it at 5 inches. So I just cut the paper in 5 inches. And then we'll do a card base, 5 by 3 3/4. So there we go. We have our own designer paper now. So if you run out, or like I said, if you have different colors you like, that's one way to do it. And then you can layer it. So here's just some Highland Heather, because I didn't use the Freesia. I used Highland Heather and some Bermuda Bay instead of Pool Party for some of those. So let's see. So this is just 5 1/4 by 4. And then you can mat the paper that we just made. And then, you know, there you've got a card front. You can, let's see, I had this sentiment punched out from some other project and then I didn't use it. So this is a sentiment from this stamp set. You have my love and support. And then the label me lovely. I guess I need to label my other punch. I never put the little label on it. I never remember the name, so I use my label maker to put that on there. And then you can layer those up. You can stick that on your card. Well, maybe not on the little bird head. You can decide where you want to put it. You can run some ribbons, another strip of paper. So lots of fun ideas. So you can make your own designer paper with the stamp set. You can also stamp on it. So let's see. Which paper is this? Okay, Mr. Stripey. So this is how the paper comes. And then on here, you can see I took the stamps and I stamped in black ink and I added stuff. So this, let's see, which way does it go? This way. So you can stamp it pretty exact, or you can do it offset like their paper. So if you look at their paper, they kind of offset it. They don't make it exact. So it's not an exact science. So let's see, let's pull out that purple one again. So on here you can see they just stamp the flower and it doesn't even go over the top of anything. So there's no rules. You can do it however you like, but this stamps on here. And then, let's see. You can add some like little sprigs. So if you wanted some of those little spriggy things, I added some of those. You can color in the leaves. There's an outline for one of them. And then you can add those, that's that leaf we just used on the purple card. So you can, you know, leave it as it is, or you can put the little lines on it. So it's nice that the stamps coordinate. I like that Stampin' Up does that. So that's another way you can use it. Let's see. And then let's share some samples. So this is one sample that I made, and I don't know if you can tell. I used the Wink Estella on it. But what I did on here was a baby wipe technique. So this one, I dropped a bunch of re-anchors on a literal baby wipe in a case, and then I stamped that same bird we used tonight on here, and I had like 3 different colors going, so it just randomly picked up the different colors on the pieces of it. And then I added just a tiny strip of some of the designer paper and some of our brass butterflies, which are super cool. And they're not very lumpy, so they'll be nice to mail. They shouldn't give you any problem with the postage man about it being too lumpy. So that's one card. Let's see, I'll move my papers out of the way. What else do we have? Oh, this one's kind of one of those fun folds. I've been meaning to try this. So there's 2 different corner tuck cards that I did. So again, here's that paper. I just stamped that double flower we've been, you know, looking at, and just trimmed it out, layered it up, and then it just tucks it into the corner of the designer paper on this one. And then this one's a little bit different size. And this one I colored the bird, I don't know if you can tell, with some of the blue and the green marker. And I used the alcohol markers. And then again, this one's a slightly different size. And it has the cardstock as the corner with the designer paper. And then nothing says you have to stay with the colors that came in the paper. So I wanted to make a card that used something totally different. So this is the free marble paper that you can get in the catalog, and I stamped that same leafy thing. I like the way that it just pops with the black. I like using black and red and black and pink. So this one I used Poppy Parade, and then the embossing folder, if you can see, I think if I turn it, this is the new gingham embossing folder that coordinates with the Sweet Conversations Valentine set, and then made a little envelope like the one we made earlier that coordinates for that. And then this one I shared on my Facebook page already, so you may have seen it. And again, used a different die to cut it out, and then put some stippling with the stamp that's already included, and used the marble paper and some of our new glitter paper. What's another one? This is another one I shared earlier. So I just took the paper and put it behind the die cut heart that's embossed. And this is from, same sentiment from the stamp set, but the embossing folder is from another one. And then this is the same glitter paper that comes in the pack, but this one's like a pool party iridescent. And then you can always make bookmarks or tags, depending on how long you make them. So here are 2 tags / bookmarks I made. And again, I just did my tag with some ribbon and cut some designer paper and just a little sentiment. And these are from that Special Moments stamp set. There's lots of fun ones in here, so I used that stamp set to make these, and one's bigger than the other. I always forget to use this tag punch, so wanted to show you that real quick, because we have the new tag dies that everybody's going gaga for. But we have a delightful tag punch, and that's what I used for this one. So this is our normal 2-inch tag. So you would like tag this side. So you just take your 2 inches, you slide it all the way in and punch it, and it gives you this fun pattern on the top. You could put any ribbon you want. But what's fun about this one is, look, it has 3 different sizes. So this is like 2 inches, that's 1.5, that might be probably 1 inch. I don't think I printed it out. Normally I try to print a label on here so I know the thickness. But that's how I made this one. So I just used this and it only cuts some of the scalloping. So if you look here, you can make different tags or thicknesses. So I know that our dies are on back order, I think, for the tags. And this is a different way. You can have 3 different size tags for your gifts and still be able to do that without the die cut machine. So as you go, it'll just kind of go in a little narrower on each one of those. So I don't think I have a strip of paper handy, but you kind of get the gist of it. You just slide it in. And then you just want to make sure it's flush across there. So when you slide in your paper, make sure it's like that and not crooked because it's going to make it ugly. So you just want to make sure it's flush across there. And then you punch it. So don't forget about that guy. All right, so those are the projects I wanted to share with you. So if you were thinking, ooh, I want that stamp set and paper, but I don't know what to order, I have some ideas for you. So put together this little sheet, and you can use the QR code also to get to my store. But so there's suggested 1, 2, and 3. So we'll start from the bottom and work up. So the bottom one is a 6-month prepaid subscription to Paper Pumpkin. That's $114. And then you get 6 months of our all-inclusive stamp kit, which is a great deal. It's also discounted from like the regular monthly price. So I think you save a couple of dollars on that. And you'll get a free $100 item because you've spent over the 100. The other option is embossing. So if you've never done heat embossing and you want to buy the tools for that, you can go ahead and get your heat tool, your powder, your ink, the blends that I used tonight, some black cardstock, and the matte dies. Then you'd be at the 100. Or suggested 1 is just for your new stamper. So if you're new and don't have a lot of supplies but want to get started, you can get your Postage stamp punch, some envelopes, some gray ink, and a refill, and I'll show you that in a second. Some pool party ribbon, like this sheer ribbon that I have on here, which coordinates nice with the paper. And then you can get that Celebrating You stamp set I talked about. I showed you in the catalog. Some white cardstock, which will last you a really long time, so you'll be good to go on stamping. Some black cardstock, and then pool party cardstock. So between those, you'll be able to make lots of cards with the paper that comes in here. And you'll also have envelopes, and you'll be ready to roll. And that one's $100 and $150. And you'll get the free, not the stamps. Well, you could get the stamp set if you wanted, but you'd get the friendly hello. So you would get that. And the paper, the coordinating paper pack. So anyway, there's different options, and you can pick anything you want. I was just trying to give you some ideas. I do have my host code at the top if you need that. If your order's $150 or more, don't use the code. You'll be your own hostess, and you'll earn 15% Stampin' Rewards. So make sure you don't put the host code in, but shop at my store, and then you'll get additional Stampin' Rewards and free goodies. Anyway, I think that is what I wanted to share on here. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, the black, our black ink is back ordered. So now we're not doing like back orders where they'll ship it to you later. So I wanted to give you another option. So when you're coloring with your alcohol markers, you kind of have to use that black memento. But if you were just, say, making that friendly hello, where did I put that card? Here we go. So if you were making this card, it would look just as pretty with our dark gray. So that's an option. And then you could do the dark gray cardstock instead of the black if you wanted, or you could stick with the black and just stamp your sentiment in the dark gray. So, and we also have stays on black, so you could use stays on black for this sentiment. But I did want to show you that option. I don't think I brought any paper to, well, I could stamp on the back of this a little bit. So that one you can see the alcohol markers do bleed through. But let's see. So we could use that. And our dark gray is pretty dark. So if you were stamping it on that color, you'll see it's pretty close to that memento black. So if you were making this card, you could substitute the black, the gray. That's kind of why I listed that on there. So that way you'd be able to get there. So let's see, questions. Hannah says I'm an enabler. Thanks, Hannah. Glad you like the products. And then let's see, Bob, how do you get the list? Which list is that? The one I just showed with the different ideas to order? I will post this list in, I don't know if it'll let me do an image. Yeah, I think I'll take a picture of it and I'll post it in the comments under the video. And then if you're watching it on YouTube, I will put a, I'll have to see if I can put a link to it. I'll probably just put a link to it and post it on my Facebook page so you can find it. But anyway, I hope that is helpful. And I appreciate, whoops, my bookmark just flew. So I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Let me flip the camera back real quick. All right, well, wanted to thank you so much for joining me. I had a good time tonight, and I hope you did too. If you have any questions, I'm always here to help, or if you need help putting in orders, I'd be happy to do it for you. Just reach out to me, and you can message me on Facebook, and then my contact is also on my Stampin' Up page. So you can find me on there, and I'd be happy to help you with any questions, or if you want to pick different options, just let me know. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.